In this deep and silent underground palace lies the second to last emperor in Chinese history, together with his Empress, Emperor Guangxu and Empress Longyu. This couple, as historical records, lived in a long-standing disharmony. More than 100 years later, as they rested together in this tomb, one can't help but wonder what kind of feelings might they share now. Welcome, friends from all over the world. We are now standing at the site of the three glazed gates, the grand entrance of the last Imperial Mausoleum in Chinese history. In our previous episode, we introduced the front part of this mausoleum. Today, we will focus on exploring its underground palace. This magnificent gate, with its three-arched doorways, is known as the Three Glazed Gates. In traditional Chinese funeral philosophy, it marks the boundary between the realm of the living and the realm of the dead. Directly in front of the gates flows a stream called the Jade Belt River. Ancient Chinese believed that the water here could gather wealth and bring fortune to the descendants of the emperor. The construction of this river at the mausoleum served precisely this symbolic purpose. The occupant of Chongling is Emperor Guangxu. In 1894, during the First Sino-Japanese War, China was defeated by Japan. Under the influence of reformers such as Kang Youwei, Guangxu launched the 100 Days Reform in an attempt to revitalize the nation. Although Kang Youwei is often regarded in Chinese history as a famous reformer, he was also a controversial figure. He persuaded Guangxu to dismiss nearly all of the existing officials within the imperial system, which provoked strong opposition. Those officials turned to Empress Dowager Cixi for help. In response, Cixi staged a coup. She expelled Kang Youwei abroad and placed Emperor Guangxu under house arrest. This marked the beginning of the emperor's tragic fate. What you see here are stone sculptures known as the Five Stone Offerings, 15 Gong. Their origin is closely related to the period of Mongol rule. The arrangement consists of a censer in the center, flanked on each side by a pile of candlesticks and a pile of flower vases. These objects are Buddhist ritual vessels, symbolizing internal incense, internal light, and internal fragrance. In the 13th and 14th centuries, China was under the rule of the Mongol Yuan dynasty. The Mongols were devout followers of Tibetan Buddhism, and during their reign, Buddhist influence grew significantly. From the Ming Dynasty onward and continuing through the Qing Dynasty, imperial mausoleums adopted this tradition, placing such stone offerings at their ceremony sites as a cultural legacy borrowed from Buddhist practice. Now, we enter the very heart of the mausoleum, the burial area itself. Between the five stone offerings and the underground palace lies another feature, the second Jade Belt River. Beijing, together with the neighboring province of Hebei, is located in a relatively arid region. As a result, many imperial tombs have Jade Belt rivers that remain dry. Here at Chongling, the Jade Belt River is also largely without water. The reign of Emperor Guangxu was also a time of great change. In 19,000, China witnessed an extreme anti-foreign uprising, the Boxer Rebellion. Afterward, China was forced to sign the Boxer Protocol with the Eight-Nation Alliance. In the name of Emperor Guangxu, Empress Dowager Cixi ensured a series of reform decrees. This aimed at introducing constitutional government and preparing for a national parliament. During the last decade of Guangxu's life, while he was under Cixi's strict control, China nevertheless made progress in modernization. More than 30 divisions were organized under a modern military system. A professional police force was established, and both central and local institutions began preparing for representative assemblies. It was during Guangxu's era that the first glimmers of China as a modern nation began to appear. Now we have entered the underground palace itself. The burial chamber of Emperor Guangxu and his Empress suffered heavy looting in history. In ancient China, there was an unfortunate custom. People believed that the tombs of emperors must be filled with gold and treasure. What you see here underground is a trace of such a robbery. A tunnel left behind during the Republic era. But why does this tunnel not descend from the roof, but instead rise from below? That's right. The bandits dug an even deeper shaft beneath the tomb, and then broke through from below, like an U-shaped viaduct. This man-made tunnel remains here to this day. In ancient China, the underground palaces of imperial tombs were designed to imitate the life in the world above. Take this stone gate. For example, its evils are modeled after the style of ordinary residences of the living. Similar architectural forms can still be found throughout Beijing and Hebei today, and we also welcome you to visit these regions in person. All of the stone gates here are carved with images of bodhisattvas, each compiled with the bodhisattvas carving from the High Qing period. The figures here appear noticeably thinner and less full of life. This reflects the reality that by the time of Emperor Guangxu, the Qing Empire or the Chinese Empire was indeed already in decline. All of the roofs in the underground palace, from the front hall to the middle and the rear house, are built in an arched form. This design helps to bear the weight above. The use of arcs is an ancient tradition in Chinese imperial tomb architecture, dating back more than 1,800 years to the Eastern Han Dynasty, when such structures began to appear in the tombs of emperors and nobles. At the very end of the underground palace lie the coffins of Emperor Guangxu and his Empress Longyu. The large coffin in the center belongs to Emperor Guangxu, while the smaller one beside it belongs to Empress Longyu. The emperor's death was a tragic one, and several different accounts exist. One version claims that Empress daughter Cixi deliberately ordered imperial physicians to prescribe toxic and unsuitable medicine, which led to his death by slow poisoning. Another version, passed down by the descendants of palace officials, tells that in 1908, as Cixi sensed her own life was coming to an end, she sent a eunuch from the imperial kitchen to deliver a bowl of yogurt, a favorite drink among the Manchu who had nomadic traditions. Guangxu drank it, and soon after he suddenly died. Thus, one widely held conclusion is that Cixi had long been poisoning Guangxu with harmful medicine, and in her final days a bowl of yogurt may have brought his life to a sudden end. Many ancient Chinese imperial tombs suffered from serious problems of water seepage and drainage. Therefore, when Chongling was constructed, special attention was paid to water management. Beneath the last stone gate, you can see a drainage hole, which indicates the presence of a complete underground drainage system. This feature demonstrates the advancement of engineering techniques. In ancient China, when an emperor or empress passed away, their successors would bestow upon them a posthumous title and honors. They were recorded in an Imperial seal and a set of ceremony texts. The seal and these texts were placed on stone pedestals wrapped in yellow cloths, symboling the dignity and the honor accorded to the Emperor and Empress after their passing. In 1908, shortly after Emperor Guangxu passed away, Empress daughter Cixi also died on the very same day. After their deaths, political and military power fell into the hands of Guangxu's widow, Empress Longyu, and his younger brother, Prince Regent Zaifeng. Zaifeng's son Pu Yi would later become China's last emperor, the Xuantong Emperor. Amid the rising tide of revolution, Prince Regent Zaifeng soon resigned from his position, leaving Empress Longyu as a sole figure presiding over state affairs. At that time, Yuan Shikai was serving as prime minister. He negotiated with the southern revolutionaries and pressured the Qing imperial family to abdicate. Under this pressure, Emperor Longyu reluctantly signed the Abdication Edict. She carried deep resentment and regret over this decision, and in 1913, the second year of the Chinese Republic, she passed away in sorrow and poor health. The marriage between Emperor Guangxu and Empress Longyu was an arranged union under the feudal system, chosen by Emperor's daughter Cixi. In essence, there was little genuine affection between them. Yet, after 1898, when Guangxu attempted a political reform and was placed under house arrest by Cixi, their relationship seemed to improve. During his confinement at the summer palace Yiheyuan in western Beijing, Longyu was formally tasked with monitoring the emperor. But in that period, she began to show him more care and compassion. They often spoke with each other, and it became perhaps the most harmonious time in their decades as husband and wife, at least in a legal sense. As I mentioned in the previous episode, later craftsmen seemed to hope that this tragic couple could find peace together in the afterlife. That is why, in the sacrificial area, the dragon head and the phoenix head carved on the stone were placed unusually close to each other, a symbolic wish that the emperor and empress might be reconciled beneath the earth. Directly above the underground palace stands a square platform and a watchtower-like structure. The reason imperial mausoleums in China evolved to include such forms can be traced back to Zhu Yuanzhang, the founding emperor of the Ming Dynasty. He believed that the underground palace of an emperor must be protected from destruction, so he ordered the construction of fortress-like structures with defensive functions. In essence, the platform and the tower were military fortifications. Throughout the Ming and the Qing dynasties, more than 20 imperial tombs followed this same mindset. Yet, when the tide of Republican revolutionary rose, even the strongest fortresses could not resist the advance of democratic politics. In 1911 and 1912, the revolution broke out in China, bringing an end to over 2,000 years of monarchy. Chongling, the mausoleum we see here, thus became the final chapter in the architectural history of Chinese imperial tombs, and telling, within just a decade of Emperor Guangxu's death, the emperors of Austria, Germany, and Russia all lost their thrones as well. There was no coincidence, but part of a global wave. Across the continents, monarchs that had ruled for centuries were collapsing in the face of modern revolutions and demands for democracy.